Welcome to Archaeologists Behaving Badly, Episode 1, Cruel Rulers. That's what we're doing today. So pretty excited. It's going to be a part 1.
Yeah, we won't do the part 2 as the next episode, but just further down the track because there was a lot of cruel rulers to choose from.
Absolutely.
We'll do some more later on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start.
Yep.
I'm super excited about this one because super interested in this guy. So it's Vlad the Impaler.
Awesome.
He was, everyone knows a little bit about this guy because it's kind of involved with like pop culture.
Who Dracula was based on, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm going to talk about him. So Vlad the Impaler, also known as Vlad the Third Dracula or Vlad Tepes. I think that's how you pronounce it. Also, that's going to happen a lot. I'm probably going to butcher.
Apologies in advance for both of us.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. I don't know. Dracula actually means son of the dragon. And
that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it was because his father was kind of inducted into this thing called Order of the Dragon, which was created by the Holy Roman Emperor at the time. So this is all happening in the 15th century, by the way. So Vlad the Impaler was born in 1431 and died in 1476. So 15th century, that's the kind of time period we're looking at. And he ruled over Wallachia, which is a historical and geographical kind of area in Romania.
Okay.
It's not like what we currently know as Romania, but it's a part of it, basically. So the Order of the Dragon, was created by the Holy Roman Emperor, and his father was inducted into that. So Vlad III kind of took on Dracula, being son of the dragon, because of his father, I guess. So he had a really interesting upbringing because he had 3 brothers. So he was one of 4. And him and his youngest, so he's the second youngest, and him and his youngest brother actually were kind of taken by the Ottoman Sultan at the time as kind of collateral for his dad to like not go against the Ottoman Empire kind of thing. So, yeah, fucking rude, right? Imagine that. Just sent off. I don't know if he was captured or I think he was sent off. Like it was a willing kind of thing.
Some abandonment issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you imagine? And it's just like him and his younger brother. And anyway. So the nobility in Romania at the time, under his like father's rule, were really awful, I guess. And they actually I think they created a coup or something happened and they killed his father. I think they beheaded him and they tortured and buried his elder brother alive.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, like super hectic. Wild.
Being buried alive, that's some nightmare.
I know,
shit.
that's one of my worst nightmares, like, honestly. After they were killed, he got released. So then he kind of went up to kind of take on the kingdom, I guess.
And the people that had killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of insinuated that the shit that he saw while he was captive for all those years.
Yeah.
To be fair, they did teach him stuff. So he went to school. So they taught him like history and science and everything like that. So he was kind of, he was taken on, I don't know what the word is, but when you're taken on as like a ward kind of thing by the Sultan.
Like kind of a prisoner, kind of
a
ward.
Kind of a ward, kind of thing. But apparently he was really good at being a warrior and stuff and fighting and stuff like that. So he was kind of a really good candidate, I guess, to be the next ruler as well.
Okay.
But I think, the shit that he saw while he was over there may have kind of
fucked him up a little
bit. So he was particularly known for impaling his victims. So what he would do this is so fucked up. He would often use not like sharp pikes, but rounded pikes so that they wouldn't pierce any of the organs. I'm not going to get into too much detail because it's absolutely horrific.
And I'm queasy and I'll absolutely throw up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucking gross. But
so
he would
rounded.
So that, and it would come out of their mouths kind of thing, and their and the entrails would kind of be out in order for them to live longer, so they didn't die immediately. It's so horrific. And they think that actually during his time, he probably killed over 80,000 people. Like, that's the amount of people they think that he actually got to.
He himself.
Him and his under his orders.
Okay.
And it was like so horrific to watch that even at one point, one of the sultans who was like attacking a town, I assume was either on the border of his kingdom or within his kingdom, saw all these bodies impaled as they were like marching in, and actually fled and went back to Constantinople because it was just too horrific.
Yeah.
And also it's his own men, it's the Ottomans, like, so that's like crazy. But like other things that he did was, so these same noblemen also contributed to kind of the shitty state that the kingdom was in, because they were feuding all the time and because of all the warring as well, and also because they killed his father and his brother. So what he did was he invited hundreds of them for a banquet and stabbed them all. So got his people to stab every single like one of them that was at the banquet. And that consolidated.
Very Game of Thrones.
So Game of Thrones. I was thinking like Red Wedding, vibes, That's exactly what I thought. So he consolidated his power pretty quickly by, getting rid of all the noblemen who were obviously, maybe some of them were probably against him.
Yeah.
Or weren't happy with the way that he was running things. So Bram Stoker's Dracula is very loosely based on Vlad. I think people usually think that there's such a close connection. It's in connection probably just kind of by name and area, but not by his deeds at all.
Okay.
So it's just kind of taking on this persona, but then completely manipulating it into a completely different kind of story. But I was like trying to look at things regarding archaeology around it.
Yeah.
And a few things came up and they were quite ambiguous, but I think also kind of really funny because it kind of also illustrates how in archaeology and in history, we kind of like to make connections where the proof necessarily isn't all that much there. And that happens a lot.
We'll find the proof if we have to.
Yeah.
Find the connection.
Kind of thing, right?
Make it make sense.
Totally. So in 2014, archaeologists in Turkey thought that they found the dungeons within a castle in Turkey where he was kind of brought up or kind of thing. But they didn't detail any of the proof.
Okay.
So it's just like,
it could have been.
It could have been. It could not have been. I think it was just a location thing. Oh, yeah. Like this would have been probably the place that maybe he was at some point. But I think that's so ambiguous.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really funny that they didn't detail like any proof.
How they know
about that.
Classic.
But another one also in 2014 wasn't archaeologists, but it was historians. Estonian historians believe that they tracked down his grave in Italy, of all places, in Naples' Piazza Santa Maria la Nova. And this only comes from a headstone that they found that had symbols of the House of the Transylvania and a dragon, and also two opposing sphinxes representing Thebes, also known as Tepes. So they argue that this effectively spells out Dracula, like dragon and Tepes.
Yeah.
So like, Vlad.
But why would he have been buried in Italy?
Okay, so I couldn't find out too much, but it was something to do with him being imprisoned and then being ransomed to his daughter who was in Italy. it just like sounds really far-fetched. I don't know.
Not impossible.
Not impossible, but I think like the general consensus was that he...
Did they ever excavate or like exhume the...
I don't know, but even so, I don't know how you'd be able to tell.
Yeah, true.
You know? But also interestingly, Vlad the Impaler shares family ties with the British royal family.
Really?
Yeah.
That's topical.
Yeah, it's quite topical. But yeah, I thought that was through his grandmother or something like that. There's some kind of...
That's interesting.
Yeah. Mm. And then in 2019, they found some cannonballs dating from the 15th century that were found at a fortress called oh my God, I'm going to say this wrong. Zishtova Fortress.
That sounds good.
Yeah. So he had seized it. It's like a kind of a well-known historical fact that he had seized this place, and these particular cannonballs were only used in that period. So it seems very likely that that was from his army and his forces doing that. Cool. So that was kind of cool. But otherwise, the archaeology side of it seems pretty, I don't know. It's a bit dubious, really. Yeah. I don't know. But also, which I think is super relevant, is this week, or like a week ago, in Poland, they uncovered a woman from the 17th century in a burial that had a sickle.
Oh, I saw a picture of that.
Yeah.
Across her neck.
Yeah, like across her neck.
Because she was supposedly a vampire.
Yeah. And also, which I found like really random, was a padlock was placed on her left big toe. And
I didn't actually read the article. So
yeah. And apparently the padlock is supposed to symbolize the closing of a stage and the impossibility of returning. I don't know how they're getting that information or how that symbol or how they justify.
Yeah. That's what it means.
That's what it means. I don't know.
Also there's so much modern folklore about vampires and some older stuff too.
Yeah.
But like the padlock or a sickle, being buried with a sickle across your neck so that you can't rise from the dead is not, I've never heard of that before.
No.
I'm not an expert on vampires, but like that's new.
It's really weird, like especially the padlock. I just don't see how you can, justify symbol. I don't know how you can justify what that symbol's.
Yeah.
It didn't really explain it very well. It just kind of said that's what it is.
Yeah.
Or that's what they think
I'm sure
it is.
they had their reasons, but that is something that's frustrating about it's not even archaeological reporting, but it's like by the time stuff gets filtered through to media.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff doesn't get included, and so you never actually know how or why people have come to those conclusions. It just says that that's what they've decided.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I found really interesting is, and I think this is why she was thought of as a vampire, was when they were excavating her, they were looking at her skull and her teeth, and she had two front teeth that were kind of protruding. And so they think that maybe because of how her teeth grew, which is so sad.
That's awful, yeah.
That they thought that she was a vampire. But she was actually wealthy. By her grave goods and what she was buried with suggested that she was probably quite a wealthy woman, so probably came from money or status or both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was like super interesting. But it kind of, again, lends into exactly what you were saying, like how, you know, vampires, so like the whole vampire kind of hysteria only was kind of a thing in English and English-speaking countries only in like the late 1700s.
Yeah.
And then by the 1800s, 19th century, it was like full-blown hysteria, which inspired a lot of writers like Bram Stoker and other writers as well to kind of talk about vampires, you know, preying on the people, you know.
Awesome.
So
that was really good.
Yeah, so that's my little spiel on Vlad the Impaler. Like, personally, especially when I was younger, a little bit now, I just love vampires and that whole kind of cult kind of pop culture thing.
Ghouly,
spooky stuff, especially coming up to, Halloween and all of that.
I love a bit of Halloween.
You love a bit of Halloween.
I do. Even though it's like not really a thing in Australia, but I always decorate my house.
I mean, we like to make it a thing.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to make it a thing this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I've got another guy who...
We did 2 each, by the way.
Yeah. So I've got one more guy who I kind of stumbled upon, and I realized that we've seen it in a movie that came out.
Oh.
Yeah, so this guy called Phalaris, who was a tyrant.
Phalaris, how's that spelled?
Phalaris.
Okay.
He was a tyrant who ruled over Archaeologists, which is in modern-day Sicily.
Okay.
From 5070 to 554 BC. And he was especially known for his cruelty, such as cannibalism even, including eating babies.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know if that's real or not. They've got a lot of propaganda that happened. A lot. Even then, that was definitely a thing. Because, that's quite...
It's pretty hectic.
That's fucking hectic, man.
But, like I know stories change over time and there's, propaganda at the time and it depends on the sources, blah, blah, blah. It's hard to have, 100% certainty of stuff that happened. But people are fucked.
People are fucked.
People do fucked up stuff now. I'm sure they were doing it back then.
Yeah.
So it's...
And especially if you're establishing yourself as a tyrant. Yeah. You want to do some extra fucked up shit to kind of...
Yeah, so someone eating babies, which makes me feel nauseous.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's okay.
So he was well known, and this is what he's particularly known for, and this is, I think, the most famous part of his story, is the use of the brazen bull, or the bull of Phalaris.
I have seen images of this.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a massive bronze, hollowed out bull that has a little door in it, and it's used as a torture device. So he'd put people in it and then put it over fire.
Light a fire underneath. Yeah. I have seen images of that.
But what's so fucked up about it is the guy, so he didn't design it. Another guy did, who kind of gave it to him. And as he was discussing it and telling Phalaris about his fucked up torture device, he explained that in the horns, it's got little openings for the smoke and stuff, the burning flesh and shit. Yep. But it's supposed to make the sound of the screams sound like a bull.
Okay.
So when people are screaming in there, it sounds like it's a bull, making noises. It's so fucking horrific. Anyway, the story goes is that the guy that, invented it, showed it to Phalaris. Phalaris thought it was so fucked up, he actually used it on him. So he was
on the guy that made it?
Yeah. He didn't die in it, apparently. Apparently he just threw him off a wall or something like that afterwards, but he definitely made him get in it and put the fire up a little bit. Yeah. So he's a kind of a little bit sadistic. He's a little bit sadistic, right? So this was in one of my favorite fun movies. I'm not saying it's a fucking great film. The Immortals with Henry Cavill.
I don't think I've seen that.
As if you haven't seen that. Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't think I have.
Oh my God. It's when was it? I don't know. It's
not that old.
It's not that old, but it's also not that new either.
Okay.
It's probably 7 years old or something.
Okay.
I don't know. I have to look that up.
All right.
But it's got Henry Cavill in
it.
So
I'll watch it tomorrow when I'm hungover.
Yeah. It's super, it's just like a fun movie. I don't know. And it's all about kind of Greek mythology kind of thing and about the Titans. And anyway, the bad guy in that, which is King, his name's, King Hyperion, uses it as a torture device, and that's his torture device. And so I was looking at it going, where the fuck have I seen that? I've definitely seen that from somewhere. And yeah, they've taken it from this guy. So I think they've actually modeled King Hyperion in the movie
on him
from from Phalaris. And there's this kind of thing that, you know, when Phalaris used to put people in there, and obviously their flesh would, you know, whatever, and burn them alive, but he would use the scorched bones to like make necklaces and shit. I don't know. You just go, that's so
extra.
And in the movie, there's this like he uses a lot of bones and stuff. So you go, yeah, they must be definitely using this guy,
right?
But to his credit, apparently he was like super effective at planning and building infrastructure for the city. So he was actually quite kind of good like that, and he did a lot for the city apparently. And then according to some sources from the Roman Empire, he was actually a humane and cultured man. But then you go, what's propaganda? What's not propaganda? Right. It's probably a bit of both on both sides.
As it always is.
But I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what a guy. And that's all pretty much you know from him. But I just think this bronze bull is,
I wonder if that ever got found.
No, but they've
like
got
that.
I think they've got drawings of it and stuff. So there was lots of people writing about it.
Yeah.
So they knew that it existed, and it was very well explained exactly how it worked and how it was used and when it was used. But yeah, I don't think they never found it or anything like that. But
I'm sure someone later on probably melted the bronze.
Probably,
used it to make something else.
Exactly, yeah. But crazy.
Pretty crazy.
Pretty fucked up. And in the movie, it's pretty fucked up, like, because he uses it, you know. And it's really...
Is it scary? I'm not a scary movie person.
It's not scary. Okay.
It's... All right, I'll watch it.
It's kind of fun. It's kind of, I don't know, it's fun. It's kind of dark, but it's quite dark, actually, now that I think about it. But it's Henry Cavill, so I'll watch it, you know. It's kind of one of those things, you know. So I like the movie. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. Anyway,
awesome.
That's it.
That was really good.
Those are my two guys.
Okay, so the first person I am doing as a cruel ruler is a guy called Timur or Timur.
Okay.
I'm awful with all of the things. Yeah. So it's Timur.
Okay.
So he was known, he had a nickname in Persian that translates to Timur the Lame.
Okay.
Because he supposedly had some disability or deformity or something on his right side.
Okay.
He was born in 1336 and died in 1405. So
that's a pretty long time.
It's a long life because what is that? That's like
14th, 15th
70.
Yeah, that's
died when he was 69. So that's a pretty long life.
That's pretty good.
He was a Turco-Mongol conqueror, and he founded the Timurid Empire in modern Afghanistan, Iran, and Central Asia.
I've definitely heard of that before.
Yeah. It's crazy because he's not actually very well known.
No.
And I read some stuff about maybe it's because he kind of considered himself the heir to Genghis Khan.
Okay.
Who was like operating like 100 years before this.
Okay.
And also Mongol, obviously. They weren't related. There's some, he kind of claimed that he was. There's some not.
They often do
iffy.
That. Yeah.
About whether he actually was or not. But yeah, he's not very famous because he he did kind of the same thing that Genghis Khan did, but not quite as big.
Okay.
But still fucking huge.
Yeah.
But just because Genghis Khan was so...
Yeah. Because he's not Genghis Khan, therefore...
prolific. I don't know if that's actually the right word to use for...
Well, at least, like, worldwide known for his... Yeah. Ruthlessness. And, yeah.
So he's considered a great military leader and tactician, and also was a patron of art and architecture.
Okay. As you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He loved that shit.
Loved that shit.
He was the last of the great nomadic conquerors of the Eurasian steppe. So I didn't do actually that much research into his childhood. I know he was one of quite a few kids and like grew up as a nomad, and then even as a military leader, like he always led his battles. He was at the front of the army. Like he never stayed in one place very long.
Yeah.
He just continued to kind of live that way.
Yeah.
So he envisioned restoration of Genghis Khan's Mongol Empire, saw himself as the heir, and referred to himself as the Sword of Islam.
Okay.
So kind of everything he did related to Islam, but there's some question about his actual religious affiliation, like his personal religion. From everything that I read, it seemed like he's like very intelligent politically, even like with a lot of his battles and stuff. He was very opportunistic. Like when there was like civil stuff going on, that's when he would strike in places. And so
a smart guy.
It seemed like potentially the Muslim part of it was potentially just kind of a front, like a tool that he used. His armies were multi-ethnic and feared throughout Asia, Africa, and Europe at the time. The estimate of his kills, his military campaign kills, is around 17 million people.
What?
Yeah, he killed.
Holy shit!
He killed a lot of people.
He killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
And
I mean, that puts fucking Vlad to shame. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
That's crazy.
So he's known for being very political, very smart, and a warrior. I read that the story of him, his whatever lameness he had was at some point during his like mid-20s, in battle, something happened to him.
Okay.
But he continued
like wounded.
to yeah. But he continued to, and they were all like his armies were on horses.
Yeah. Which is the
same as the like Genghis Khan.
Yeah. That's like that's their thing. Yeah.
Shooting arrows mostly.
Yeah.
He led his armies in battle, which I think I said. He was always known as being pretty brutal, but he got way worse as he got older. I haven't really talked about like specific battles except for one because there were so many.
Yeah. Like,
but he was like
over 70 years
playing chess with battles kind of all over the place. I think he had a really good relationship with quite a few European, not countries, they weren't countries back then, but like states, I guess.
Yeah.
Because he was always fighting with the Ottomans and Europe didn't like them.
Yeah. Neither did Vlad. So.
They have that in common.
Yeah, cute. Besties.
In present day Afghanistan, he ordered the construction of a tower. This is one of the fucked things he did.
Oh, God.
He ordered the construction of a tower made out of living men.
What?
Stacked on top of each other and cemented together.
What the fuck? Are you serious? We're in Afghanistan. Jesus Christ.
It's pretty fucked.
Like, why? Did you, like, run out of raw materials? Like,
I think just to make a bit of a statement.
Hey, guys, yeah, look at me. Look at my...
Don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
There's, like, a million instances of him ordering massacres.
Jesus Christ.
Even to punish, like, any sort of, like, little rebellion or anything. He would just, like, wipe everyone out.
Like, annihilate.
He had 70,000 heads built up into minarets.
What the fuck?
Yep, so that's pretty cute.
So cute.
In 1398, so this is when he's 62, he turned his army towards India, which I don't think he had gone that far
before
to the south.
That's a long way away.
And also he's old, like it's the 14th century and he's in his early 60s.
Yeah.
And I read that he did it because he had heard that the Muslim rulers there were being too tolerant to the Hindu subjects.
Yeah.
And so just because of that, he was like, I'm fucking destroying everything. So, like, every city they went along the way to Delhi, they, like, burnt it to the ground, massacred everybody.
Holy shit. I didn't know this. And I've, like, studied a bit on, like...
He's just not famous.
No, yeah.
Because everyone talks about Genghis Khan, but, like, he was nuts.
Yeah.
And killed a lot of people.
Like a proper fucking psychopath.
So when he got to Delhi, there's an account that the Indian army was using elephants, war elephants.
Yeah, yeah.
And he tied to all of the camels that they had with them, he tied straw to their backs and lit it all on fire. And then, like prodded the camels to charge the elephants because they were, like, burning.
Yeah.
And so the elephants freaked out and basically turned around and stampeded their own armies. And that was, like, part of how he won at Delhi, but, like, fucking destroyed Delhi. And I read it took Delhi, like, 100 years to recover from what he did there.
Yeah. That's crazy. I've never heard of this guy.
He was fucked.
What the fuck?
I also
Intelligent. Like, that's fucking smart.
In 1399, so this is just the next year, during his invasion of Baghdad, he required each of his soldiers to show him 2 severed heads from the mostly Christian population. I think in previous times he wasn't getting enough physical proof from his soldiers that they were killing enough people.
Of course not.
Even though, like, they were killing a lot of people.
I mean, 17
but yeah, so
million.
he required each of them to bring him 2 heads.
That's crazy.
I didn't go into this. I could have, but I was lazy. Sorry. He died while trying to conquer China. China was the last place that he was going to try and conquer, and all of his battles were, or most of his battles were seasonal. Yeah. And this was one of the first ones that he started to do while it was still winter or something like that. And so he ended up dying not during battle.
But probably from...
He got sick.
Yeah. Changing it up. Don't fix what's broke, basically.
Yeah.
Like... What's not broke, sorry. Don't fix what's not broke. Fucking idiot, Raquel. But, like, yeah, why would you... I mean, it's ambitious, basically.
Yeah.
And also China, they're also similar kind of tactics and stuff, I can imagine. So there'd be quite a hard people to, you know...
Yeah, but he never got to actually give it a good
crack.
What else have I got here? Okay, so in 1941, a Soviet anthropologist, whose name I didn't write down, but you can Google it, excavated his remains from his...
They found it?
Yeah. So he's buried in a mausoleum. Like, he has a thing in Uzbekistan that you can visit.
Okay.
This Soviet anthropologist discovered that he wasn't lame. I don't know how politically correct it is to use the word lame, but that was his nickname from 800 years ago. So whatever.
Yeah.
He had like a debilitating hip injury on the right side, and he was missing a bunch of fingers from his right hand.
Okay.
So
like maybe if he had like a weird hip thing, maybe he might have just looked, maybe, you know. Yeah, maybe that's all it was, you know. That's interesting. I love how when like science can kind of
confirm some stories.
Yeah, or not confirm. Yeah. Or like, you know what I mean? Like I love that.
So this Soviet anthropologist also did a reconstruction of his face based on his skull. So you can look at what he supposedly looked like.
Yeah.
Famously, there was supposedly a curse. Which we love. We love a little bit of a curse in archaeology.
Love a curse.
So there were a couple of inscriptions carved into like the wall in his tomb, basically saying that whoever disturbed him would bring demons of war to their land. And 3 days after his tomb was opened by the Soviet anthropologist, 3 days later, Nazis invaded the Soviet Union.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So that's like his curse thing.
That's like Tutankhamun vibes, you know? Crazy. Love that.
We love a curse. So yeah, you can visit the mausoleum. It's in a place called Samarkand. Sorry if that's not how you say it, in Uzbekistan. And also there's heaps of Timurid architecture, like not just of his mausoleum, but like there's lots of other stuff, and it's fucking beautiful. Like it's so ornate. The main like coloring in all of it is like this really beautiful like teal turquoise color.
Nice.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. His legacy today varies in places like Uzbekistan, where he's buried. He's like revered as a hero.
Wow.
But in other places like Iraq and Iran and India,
he's obviously not.
No, like he's vilified for massacring everybody.
As I would imagine, as kind of makes sense. I think it like kind of lends to that whole idea of like propaganda as well. It depends what side you're on, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can either be the savior or you can be the bringer of all doom, and you know, that's crazy.
So that's Timur.
That's crazy. I've never heard of this guy.
17 million people. It's a lot of people.
Fucking hell. That's insane.
Sorry, I'm burping. We're drinking champagne. I'll have another sip, but I'll try not to burp too much.
It happens, you know. It's good.
This one is a bit shorter. Not from laziness, just from lateness, really. There's heaps of information about him. I'm doing Caligula.
Okay, yep.
So here's my cruel ruler, number 2. He was a Roman emperor. He ruled from 37 CE to 41 CE. So he was only ruling for 4 years.
Yeah, so he must have been pretty soon after Augustus, right?
Yeah, so he is related to Augustus.
Yeah.
I think Tiberius was before him.
Yeah.
But he's related to Augustus.
Okay, yeah.
So his actual name is Gaius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, and he was named after Gaius Julius Caesar. And Caligula was a nickname.
Okay, I didn't know that.
His dad was a general or something.
Yeah.
And Caligula has something to do with like a type of military boot or something, like a little boot.
Yep.
So that's what he was nicknamed when he was little, and he just stuck with it.
Yep.
There's not actually many surviving sources about his reign, so some of the stuff is a bit iffy, but as a kind of general
consensus kind of. Yeah.
he was pretty fucked. But he didn't start off that way.
I think they're all kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, they're.
Look, anyone who, not to get too political, but anyone who wants power, even today, even in politics today, my friend said to me, anyone who wants power is a fucking psychopath.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not that crazy.
No, it's kind of true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he first assumed power, he was pretty loved by the people.
Okay.
He eliminated a couple of really unpopular taxes.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
He allowed people who'd been previously exiled from Rome to return and like abolished their like thing.
Exile thing. All good things so far.
Yeah, and he put in place some like other like political reforms. He made some changes that really were supported by the citizens.
Mm-hmm.
He did sorry, I'm reading the wrong spot. He focused a lot of his attention on construction projects, including 2 aqueducts he built, and some, maybe a few dwellings for himself, some lavish dwellings for himself, which, you know, that's fair enough. Like
some cute mansions just to hang out in.
Rulers do that. Like, yeah, whatever. He did work really hard on increasing the kind of unrestrained power that the emperors had.
Okay.
So that's something he worked on while he was emperor.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Their personal power.
As they like to do generally.
Yeah. And kind of before everything went tits up, he published accounts of public funds which Tiberius had kept hidden from the public. So he's done like in the first 6 months, he's doing some goodish things.
Popular things, like, you know, people that are, you know, going to really support him for. And yeah, I get that.
But after about 6 months, he starts to become a bit erratic.
Okay.
And I wrote here because I read that some theories for this are that he had syphilis.
Okay.
A mental illness, or epilepsy, but I've never heard of epilepsy kind of having any personality changes or anything like that. So that seems crazy. So we'll say syphilis or mental illness. Those are the theories, because
I mean, syphilis would have been pretty rampant back then. Yeah. So I mean, yeah.
In 39, so this is still, so this must be in the 2nd year of his reign, or like just at the start of the 2nd year, there was a financial crisis.
Okay.
Because he had like squandered all of the money that Tiberius had amassed.
Wow. Like of the whole Roman Empire. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so to try and fix it, he asked the public to lend the state money, basically.
Okay.
And
lend or give?
Lend.
Like, okay. Well, that's okay.
From the one thing I got this from. He started taxing lawsuits, weddings, and prostitution.
Okay.
To try and get some money back.
Okay.
And he auctioned the lives of gladiators.
Of course.
So he was just like, there was heaps of other stuff too. He was just like trying to get some money back.
I mean, he seems pretty, like, what's the word? Like, you know, he's using all of his resources. I don't know. He seems like a pretty intelligent, you know, kind of desperate.
Little bit desperate.
Kind of guy.
But this is like when he started going crazy. So some of his acts of cruelty include... okay, so one listed is committing incest with his sister Drusilla. Incest was not that crazy back then.
No.
Like, obviously it's disgusting, but I don't know why that would be listed unless it was forced, which is possible, but I couldn't find anything saying that it was forced, whether it was forced or not. So other acts of cruelty. He forced a political rival to commit suicide. Nice.
Lovely.
He would make senators, like his own senators, run in front of his chariot for miles.
Wow. I'm getting like Ramsay Bolton from like Game of Thrones vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just fucking unhinged.
Totally.
He would, like at the arena events, he would just throw spectators, like just regular people who were there watching. He would throw them into the arenas to be killed by animals.
Okay. Yeah.
He loved a bit of raping the wives and daughters of his senators.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Fucking hell.
He last but not least. No, it isn't. It's not actually worse than any of the other shit. It's not that bad at all. But he really believed that he should be worshipped as a god. So he was really pushing. He wasn't an emperor. He was
like Augustus.
Was a god.
Yeah.
His reign came to an end when his own guards assassinated him.
I wonder why. Probably because he was raping all of their wives and children.
that might have been it.
Yeah.
But he was the first Roman emperor to be killed by his own guards.
Really?
I don't think he was the last, but he was the first.
That's crazy. And especially how
when they're like their entire life revolves around protecting the person that they're.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So they killed him.
I mean, it sounds like his kind of cruelty. It's just like, it's for entertainment. You know what I mean? Like, it's just for his personal kind of whim rather than like, you know, conquering. I'm not saying either is better or worse. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying it's like a different kind of
and that was
sadistic.
That was something like when we decided that we were doing cruel rulers, and I chose Timur because it's a fucking wild story that no one knows about. But that was more battle stuff.
Yeah.
Which is different to people who are treating their own subjects.
Yeah. It's a completely different thing. That's when, you know, it's all gone to your head a little bit too much. Like absolute power.
Yeah.
Being able to just do shit to your own people. Like, of course, you know, of course people are going to be like, wait, what the fuck? Can I not die now, please? Can you not rape my wife and child?
Yeah, that would be great. That's basically it. So he's buried in the Mausoleum of Augustus.
Yeah.
Which is in Rome. And it was just, I was going to say refurbished, but that's not the right word. Renovated? No. Restored. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Good. Very intelligent, Belle. A couple of years ago. So it can be visited. There's not really anything, because there's like limited sources about him aside from where he's buried. There's not really archaeology of him, really.
Yeah.
There is a really beautiful marble bust of him, which is in the Met in New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that was my fairly limited research on Caligula, who was
a sadistic piece of shit, basically.
Yeah.
That's fucking interesting. I love like how the two kind of are so opposite to each other, but so also the fucking same, you know? Yeah.
Just absolutely hectic human beings.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, so that's me. Which means that's us.
That's us.
Thank you for watching if you got to the very end.
Yeah.
If we weren't too fucking boring for you. We will make another episode soon. I don't know what we're going to do it on, but we'll find something. And if you have any suggestions for episodes, or when we eventually do another Cruel Rulers one, if you have like a really obscure, interesting person that would be good to do, or you know anything about the archaeology.
Yeah.
Or if you are an archaeologist or a paleontologist and you have a crazy story about archaeologists behaving badly on site, we'll change all the names. We'll change the site names.
No one will know it's you.
But we
Don't
would
worry.
love. We can't talk about our own stories because people will know that we're talking about them.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work.
But if you have any anything you want to send in, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we would love that. And we promise everything will be
changed.
Everything will be changed. Your privacy will be fine. But we know shit happens. We know it. We know that you know it. Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we will see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.